Welcome to Breaking 100 Clays, serving the clay shooting community. Hosted by Doc Marshall. This week's special guest, Mid-Atlantic Region's trap shooting phenomenon, Professor Jon Kirksic. Well, John, this is a long time coming, but I hope first of many.
Yes, sir.
Let's start with telling the audience a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How did you come to this activity?
Okay. My name is Jon Kirksic. I'm a East Coast resident. I love going to travel to the West Coast. I'm currently involved in the sport of trap shooting, and I've been a trap shooter since 1988, registered with the ATA, that's Amateur Trap Shooters Association. In my previous life, nobody is born a trap shooter, so I was a musician. I first started playing flute when I was in the third grade, then moved to oboe by the seventh grade and played a little oboe and saxophone in the marching bands. I went to Archbishop John Carroll High School in Washington, D.C., and which was a pretty prominent high school around here. We had many famous people went to that high school, such as John Thompson, the basketball coach of Georgetown, was a Carroll alum, and Michael Steele, who you now see on the MSNBC. He's a Carroll graduate, and so it's part of the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. I was there on partial music scholarship, and then I went to college. I was a student at the University of Maryland. I was in the bands, and I was a bassist there. I started playing bass by the time I was 16. And while I was in one of the bands, I joined the music fraternity, which was Kappa Kappa Psi, the honorary music fraternity. And in that fraternity was a gentleman named Jeff Rigg. And Jeff was a trumpet player, and he was a fraternity brother. And Jeff wanted to start hunting. So he bought a shotgun. I recall it was a Winchester Model 120. It came as a combo, a 28-inch barrel with choke tubes as well as a slug barrel, so you could shoot anything with for shotgun as well as deer slugs for deer. And so he went to this gun club, and he told me about it because I'd never really heard of trap shooting. I'd seen it maybe in some TV shows like Andy Griffin and some other stuff like that where they may have had it on TV. But I never really knew about trap shooting. I hunted, right? My father and I would always hunt, but my father, having grown up in the Deep South, was never allowed or introduced to the sport of trap shooting. So I didn't know too much about it. So I heard Jeff talking about this club, and I said, "Oh, yeah, that might be something I'd be interested in doing because I always liked to hunt." And he bought the shotgun off for me to take him squirrel hunting because I would hunt squirrels, rabbits, and deer and stuff like that. So he graduated. I never knew what happened to him. Don't know where he is now. I knew he got married and moved to Florida, and that was the last I ever heard of him. But that summer, I remembered him telling me about this gun club. So I got the phone book out, and I ran across a gun club in the Yellow Pages at that time. This was like 1986 or 87, 86 probably, and luckily, the gun club was a public range, not too far from my house, and it was a Winchester club. Winchester established a lot of gun clubs around the country back in the 1970s, and they were primarily established by a gentleman named Mr. Willis Corbett, who's actually in the ATA Hall of Fame now. But he was he worked for Winchester, he worked for Anheuser-Busch, and those were his two main jobs. He also ended up working for the NRA. And Mr. Corbett, then upon retirement, I know he told me he worked for like 40 years for Winchester and 44 years for Anheuser-Busch. He had all these jobs going on at one time. So this one man was working like three major jobs, right? So that's how the years don't add up to more than what somebody would
Oh no.
lifespan, right? So that's what happened. They had him doing like 3 or 4 different jobs. The NRA. He worked for Winchester and Anheuser Busch. So and he had great jobs with all of them. You know, he was a shooting rep with Winchester and Anheuser Busch. He was in shoot promotions there, and he befriended me, and I got to know him. But anyway, back up. That summer, I went to the gun club. I took my dad and my next door neighbor. We went out to this place, which is now called Prince George's County Trap and Skeet Center. Winchester owned it when I went out there, and then they had to divest themselves from trap and skeet shooting. Winchester got split up because, for what Mr. Corbett told me, it was deemed that they had a monopoly. Okay, because Winchester was selling guns, targets, trap machines, ammunition, and of course paraphernalia like clothes and stuff like
Sure.
that. So the government made them split up. They sold all of it. Mr. Olin, who was the owner of Winchester, the only thing he kept was the chemical company. That's the company that made the ammunition, right? Because I guess that was the most lucrative.
Sure.
The gun company got split up and became USRAC, that's U.S. Repeating Arms Company, but they were able to keep the Winchester logo. The target part of the business became White Flyer, and it all got split up.
Okay, well, no, that's some good history. Yeah.
And of course, White Flyer got sold, and of course, it got sold right back to Winchester. So now Winchester's still making White Flyer targets today.
Right.
Okay, so that's kind of what happened. So I went out there to the gun club. I think I may have broken an 11 my first time shooting it. I took my dad's gun he used to use for squirrel hunting, which was a Remington Model 1100 with plain rib barrel, no rib on the barrel. And my father shot a Winchester pump gun he had, and my neighbor got one of the rental guns, I'm sure. And I liked the sport. Later that summer, I took a job at the gun club so I could learn how to learn the sport. You know, I was loading houses and scoring people, and I got bitten by the bug. And for that year or so, I just practiced. We were fortunate at that time because if you worked there at the gun club, they would let you shoot for free, and they wouldn't do that now because from what I understand, the manager at the time was they relieved him, and they claimed the gun club was like $60-some thousand in the red. So I don't know if they wanted to blame embezzlement on him, but I know we shot up probably $30,000 worth of ammunition a night when the club was closed. So anyway, Beretta bought the club. It became Beretta because Beretta has a plant down here in Accokeek, Maryland. And now they've since moved a lot of the manufacturing all to Tennessee right now. But it was a Beretta-owned facility then. Then Beretta got out of it, and now the Park Service runs it now. But that's where I cut my teeth shooting at the Prince George's Gun Club, and also, trap shooting at that time in Maryland was very competitive. Okay, it would just for our winter league shoots, you would have 200 people shooting every Sunday, right? It was nothing for somebody to win $800 or $900 if you broke a 50 straight on a Sunday by yourself, right? So we had a pretty heavy shooting culture here in Maryland and on the East Coast, and we still do. I mean, it's half of what it was due to the advent of sporting clays. For one, took a lot of guys who would have been trap shooters. They're shooting sporting clays. Skeet was never really that big of a threat to the trap community because either guys were going to shoot skeet or they were going to shoot trap. When sporting clays came in, that decimated mostly a lot of the people who probably would have been trap shooters. So anyway, I joined the ATA in 1988, and I've been shooting ever since. I've won championships from Delaware to California. I've shot many different guns, met a lot of friends from Delaware to California, and I was just telling this story the other day in the clubhouse. You know, people were talking about how expensive trap is now, right? So I just told him how I came to being the shooter I am, and what happened. I was in college for a number of years, probably to like 1989 after I started shooting. So I never, but you can't work a full-time job if you're a college student, right? So I didn't have much money to shoot, but I shot when I could and what I could. But one year, it was time for me to do my taxes. And upon graduation, I became a music teacher. I taught music for 3 years, and I joined the United States Navy Band, where I played bass in the band in New Orleans. But anyway, I was doing my taxes one year, and I went through my checkbook to see how much money I'd spent shooting trap. And I don't know how right the figure was, but for some reason, the total, whatever the total was, stuck in my mind. And then I said, well, I was doing quite a bit of winning, so I was getting some money back. So probably my total that I actually spent may have been about $5,000, but I probably spent at least $10,000 shooting trap that year. And I'm thinking, man, looking at my bank account and looking at my checkbook.
I know, and that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, well,
it's a lot of money now, but that was a lot of money back then.
And I'm broke. I'm broke here sitting at my desk looking at my checkbook. And so, man, I'm thinking, man, I sure could use that money that I spent shooting trap. But then I thought about it. I said, would I trade my life experiences that I've had shooting trap that year and the friends that I've met and the people I know from shooting trap? I said, would I trade that money for those people and experiences that I call friends and have a lot of great stories about them, although many of them have passed on? Would I trade it? The answer was no. And from that day on, I never worried about what it cost me to shoot trap. If I had money to do it, I did it.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, my second question to you is, can you share any significant obstacles or challenges you faced in those early days to getting your shooting career going, and what did you do to overcome them? Because it's obvious you overcame them.
Oh, okay. Well, obstacles. Well, money was always an obstacle. Okay, being able to shoot the way I'd like to shoot and travel and stuff like that, couldn't do it because either if I had a little bit of money, I didn't have time because the job would only allow me so many weeks a year to shoot. After I taught school for like 3 years, then I joined the United States Navy. Right, I was a bassist in the band in New Orleans. Well, in the Deep South, people don't have a whole lot of disposable income to shoot clay targets. If they shoot something, they want something to put on the dinner table at night. They can't imagine you wasting a shell on something that's not going to fall out of a tree or fall out of the sky, like a squirrel or raccoon or quail or something like that. So, being in New Orleans, they only shot at what was the Southern Louisiana Gun Club one day a month, right? And it was a Saturday, right?
Yeah. Because
then the next week of the month was either probably at Gulfport, right, which was 90 miles to the east, or we shot at another 90 Styx River Gun Club, Alabama. All these gun clubs are still out there.
Sure.
Styx River, that was 180 miles to the east, or we shot at Baton Rouge the next week, which was 90 miles to the northwest, and then from New Orleans, and then or we shot at some other club, Jackson, Mississippi, or something like that. That was 180 miles. Right. So those were the challenges I mainly faced. Was if you look at my target count, if you pull up my history with the ATA, you'll see from that period of, let's say, 1992 to 93, let's say, to 2008. I mean, till 1998. I didn't shoot much at all. That was because I was in the military and couldn't shoot. In my location where I was in Louisiana, shooting 1 day a week there at the gun club, or 1 day a month rather, during the shooting season. That's all I could do. So then when I came back home, I took a job. I went to mortuary school while I was in New Orleans. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll get into a job that will make me more money. Well, when you get into a job that you're just doing for money, well, being a funeral director, they want you working on Saturdays.
Sure.
So if I were to stay in New Orleans and my Saturdays would have been knocked out, yeah, I would have made a little bit more money, but I wouldn't have been able to shoot at all.
Right.
So I
Right.
moved back home to Maryland and did my apprenticeship, and then I ended up working for Beretta. I worked for Beretta about 5 years, but I only had 2 weeks of vacation. And although working at the gun club, I almost did less shooting working at the gun for the gun
Sure.
company than I
Sure.
did not in the gun company. So then after that, my stint at Beretta, um, I said, man, I'm always trying to finagle my way into a job now which will allow me to shoot. This is the underlying plan.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So eventually I got the job I have now, which I got in 2011. I work at the University of District of Columbia, and so as you know, as a school teacher, you got weekends off,
Yeah.
you got federal holidays off, you've got winter break, which we're on now. I don't go back till January 5th. And then you've got spring break, which occurs at the same time as the Southern Grand, which will be in Florida at the Silver Dollar Gun Club. So I'll be able to do that. It lines up perfectly with my spring break. And then, of course, in May, we have graduation, always Mother's Day weekend. So the next shoot after that is the Empire Grand in New York. So I can hit all the grands now. I've got my life into a profession where I can shoot trap almost as much as a retired person.
Wow.
And so that's how I overcame the challenges.
Sure. Sure.
And not
Okay.
everybody can do that. Okay.
No,
You know,
no, it's a challenge.
yeah.
You
Oh, I
know?
know plenty guys. Like I made the All-American team, right? Yes, that's a big and great accomplishment. I think I'm the only African American to make it.
Wow.
But I know guys who could have made it, but they had families, they had careers, they had jobs, running businesses
Yeah.
that wouldn't allow them to do it.
It takes a lot of time just to get the points.
Yep. Yep.
Forget having the ability to do it,
Right.
technically shooting, but just being able to get to all of those events.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know one guy was an OBGYN. I know he could have made it. Well, you can't be an OBGYN and be in Arizona when a baby might be due.
Right.
Then we had another guy who was a
This is
builder
true.
running his company and all. He traveled and shot quite a bit, but still he had to be back home Monday because they've got a building project going.
Sure.
Other guys owned transmission companies and stuff like that. So my point is, most of those guys I knew who could have made the All-American team, black trap shooters who could have made the All-American team, couldn't do it because they had families and business responsibilities.
Sure. And how you do? And we were just talking time. It's not inexpensive either.
Nope.
Going to how you do? I was getting ready to say going to a major event, even going to a smaller state event that might be far away. Because you've got the travel expense, you've got the hotel and food and everything. No, it can be challenging.
Oh yeah, well,
be
it costs you just as much to shoot a small shoot as it does a big shoot.
I learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, you got an airline fee, you got rental car when you get there, a hotel, then you got to pay to shoot.
That was a major conversation that me and my daughter has had. Because she's really chasing titles and stuff. Me, I'm just having a good time.
Right,
All right.
right.
But I was like, no, all of these medium size or smaller events, they're costing us just as much if going to the majors. So
there's
why
a
don't we
cost.
just better fine tune this calendar this year? Yes. Well here, okay, so you talked about the All-American. My next question to you is of all of your achievements in the sport, what stands out the most or gives you the most pride in that? And you can go down the whole list of all the good stuff.
Well, the Eastern Zone the Eastern Zone championships I have are probably my biggest, most prestigious wins, like the singles championship and the handicap championship for the Eastern Zone. I've got only a couple Grand American trophies because at the Grand American, if you miss one target, you're not shooting for the championship.
Right.
And anything in the singles, one time I missed one target and it knocked me out of 3 events. Right, because I was straight in the class championships, which is held on a Monday. I was straight. I ran the 200 out of 200 there. I was in the champion of champions. I ran that 100 straight, and then in the clay target championship, one year my gun went off. There was something wrong with my trigger. It didn't cock properly, and the gun went off as I was going for the 5th target out in the clay target championship. Well, one target missed in the clay target championship. At best, you're shooting for 60th place.
Right.
so that one target knocked me out of 3 events.
Sure.
So I don't have any singles trophies at all. I've got my trophies for doubles, or trophy at the Grand American have all been for doubles, believe it or not. So, but never a doubles championship. So, I've got state championships in singles and handicap and doubles. But my biggest wins were Eastern Zone championships.
Oh, okay. Okay. What? This is a kind of multi-pronged question.
Okay.
Excuse me. It's basically, what are your thoughts on the evolution of the sport? And originally, when I wrote the question, I was thinking about, just the evolution of the difficulty of competition shooting in itself, but it can be a wider question, because on one part of it, I am talking about just the technical part of shooting, but I'm also talking about how the sport itself has evolved and how it's become, when the old timers, when I'm talking old, I'm not talking actual age, but I'm talking about people who've shot much longer than I have, talk about the good old days, when you alluded to earlier, where, you could go to one of these events and come home with a real nice pocket full of change.
Guys used to win cars and cars and all kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there besides the emergence of sporting clays, do you think that there's other things that cause for things to kind of cool off for trap shooters?
Yes, there have been several things. One is the fact that there's less hunting in the United States, because most of your trap shooters came from guys that hunted dove and quail and pheasant, geese, whatever they were hunting. And because obviously that's an audience that already likes guns, likes to hunt and stuff. And then a lot of times they're looking for something to do in the off season. And trap shooting was a great outlet or thing for them to do when they weren't hunting.
Sure.
So you've got fewer hunters and fewer places to hunt. Okay, now it's a hassle to hunt, whereas before you could just drive your car out in the country and get out in your car and go hunt whatever it was you wanted to hunt.
Sure.
Didn't even hardly have to ask permission. Now, a lot of the guys who even have hunting clubs, they got to pay $2,000 a year to hunt on a farm.
I looked at some, hunting packages at some of the clubs around the country. Boy, we're complaining about trap shooting.
Oh yeah,
the prices that they're asking, for a weekend,
So you've got fewer hunters. Then another thing that really hurt the shooting sports was you have how should I put this? More single parent families, right? Okay, most single moms aren't going to take their kid to the gun club.
Right.
And
right.
So usually the only way they're going to get introduced to it is their father or an uncle or a grandfather. Well, if they're not really in the child's life, how is the child going to know about any of the shooting sports? And I'll just say the shooting sports. We're not just just trap, but this is all of them have been hurt because of the lack of fathers in the home, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, we've got 2 exceptions to that rule at our local club here. Matter of fact, we were out yesterday with a club shoot, and and the mom, who as much as she wants to, she's having a challenge doing it, but she is dedicated that she's gonna, have her daughter in this sport. And,
Right.
and luckily, her daughter does have skills. She's got
Right.
some natural skills, right? And the mom is very supportive. But like you said, that's more the exception than,
Right.
than
Right.
that is the rule. So let's talk about the technical part of shooting and your experience with that. And so, what has changed that you can identify, equipment wise, whether it be the throwers that's throwing the targets or the actual, shotguns themselves,
Okay.
what do you think about that?
Well, when I first started shooting in let's say 1986, I used to, when I took my job out at the gun club, which is now Prince George's Trap and Skeet, I had to hand pull the targets for people, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to be a human being over the course of an 8-hour day is not going to give the same target pulls.
Right.
You're bound to get one.
Yeah, your response time is going to vary a little bit.
Right. So that's one thing. The automatic voice callers. Then at that time we had hand set machines. Sometimes there was a person in the house loading the machines. Right. One target at a time. So with the advent of the pat trap, we've got more consistent targets thrown. With the voice callers, we've got a more accurate release of the target. When I started, my first 3 trap guns were Model 12s. Okay, and the Model 12 is still a great trap gun, but my point is, you got guns now with faster triggers, such as what you might have in a Ludic or Silver Sights or in Perazzi's. Okay, you've got adjustable ribs now, so you can fine tune your point of impact. Not that you really need one, but you've got it.
You'll have to bend your barrel.
Right. People used to bend their barrels. I know several guys used to go to the fork in the tree and bend their barrel, right? Or send it to Simmons or somebody.
Sure.
And have your barrel bent to get the desired point of impact. Probably though the best thing that has helped shooters is the advent of the plastic wad. Okay, but the plastic wad ammunition has gotten better. Mainly because of that. And powders, I guess, have gotten better, primers, all that stuff. All of those things are, so we got the machines, the guns, shells, ammunition, all that's gotten better. Now people have a couple doctors that specialize in the shooting sports with glasses. Like my doctor is Dr. Frank Rively. He's an excellent shooting doctor, and he's a shooter. Okay, so he knows how to make my prescription is about where I'm going to break the target at what distance. Okay, he's at all the shoots here on the East Coast. I guess out west
as I get more mature, that's becoming more and more important.
Oh yeah, because you can't hit what you can't see. Right?
I remember in the beginning, people were like, "Well, wait until you can see the ribs on the." I was like, "I see a blob."
Right. Yeah. So the glasses have gotten better. Everything's gotten better. So those are some of the things. I know in the wintertime we got good hand warmers now. Now guys are wearing heated vests.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so all of that has been invented to help shooters break better scores.
Yeah. Overall, has your training regiment or activities changed in how you train to keep sharp or to improve your scores?
I keep a little notebook. And you got to keep notes of what works where. Like what gun you're using, how many spacers you might need in it, with an adjustable comb, or your settings on your guns, what ammunition work. So keep a notebook for one, because you can't remember. I shoot so many different guns. I'm just a gun guy. I like different guns. Some people say, "Why you change guns all the time?" I don't know. I get tired of bored shooting the same gun.
Right.
So keep a notebook so you can keep track of what you're doing and where you're breaking good scores, even your bad scores. Say what didn't work in the notebook. That's the main thing I would say is training wise is keep a good notebook. Try and shoot the best ammunition you can afford to shoot. See what works best in your gun, because just because you can shoot something expensive, you might do better with a lesser expensive shell. Generally not, but you might.
Yeah.
Okay. The Federal Top Gun shells are pretty good. But I would say you'd be better off practicing less with good quality ammunition than than shooting a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah.
shells in your gun
Yeah.
that you know you're on the target and they won't break it.
Right.
So
How you doing?
part of my
And your guns have taste.
yes,
They
yes,
like
that's
some
right.
shells over others. Some they
That's
just
right.
don't like. Yeah.
Right, right. And I remember one time I was at a tournament and I was shooting my gun. This particular Remington 1100 I shot didn't really like the Remington gun clubs. The best I could do was 23 out of a box. And I said, no, something's not right here. And so in between the hundreds, I went and got a flat of double A's and ran the 100 with the same gun, didn't change anything, just the
Right,
shell.
right.
So the shell makes a difference. Now, sometimes, though, the Remington gun clubs might work better because maybe you don't get as tight a pattern with them. I loved them for the first shot in doubles. I almost never missed the first bird when I shot them at doubles. So you got to figure out, like you said, what your gun likes.
Okay. Okay. Oh, can you walk us through what your current shotgun setup is? You know, what are your favorites, or are there favorites for certain events? Barrel lengths, chokes,
Okay.
kind of stock adjustments, or whatever, that sort of thing.
I've shot a gamut of guns. My favorite guns, I started with Model 12s because, as my dad told me, all the great trap shooters shot a Model 12. Well, yeah, I was on the tail end of that. But now, Remington 1100s, I really like them. I've got custom ones. I've got about 13 of them. I got custom ones, and I got some stock ones where all I have is an adjustable cone on the stock. I can break the same scores with the custom ones as I do the stock guns, but the custom guns are a little bit more comfortable to shoot, right?
Okay.
Just because I got higher ribs on them maybe and stuff like that. I've got two Perazzi MX8s. One is my main doubles gun. I've got another one with one of Phil Sims Pro Soft stocks on it. All my barrels are changed.
with the MX8, because I shoot one.
Okay.
With the MX8, are they dedicated trap guns?
Oh, yeah.
Medium, high ribs.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Well, my main one that I've had my most success with is just a standard step rib, low step rib MX8.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I got about 500 or 600 straights and doubles with it.
Wow.
But to be honest with you, I actually kind of preferred one of my 1100s because it's less recoil. It's
sure.
easier to shoot doubles with less recoil. But keeping them running is the problem, and always having malfunctions. But so the Perazzi is MX8. I got a 32-inch step rib barrel. It's the only, really, one of the only gun I can tell you that I've ever found that shoots both shots in the same place. Coming from the world of automatics, that's what I like. One
Sure,
impact, and my MX8 is the only gun I've shot. I've tried other over and unders, but that gun, I get both shots delivered at the same place.
Yeah, they are nice. Are multi or fixed chokes?
Fixed chokes.
And
I don't like choke tube guns. Any great gunsmith will tell you that a fixed choke gun will throw better patterns than a choke tube gun. Plastic and stuff builds up in it. They may have different points of impact when you screw a different tube in it. I just like a straight integral choke gun. If you see me shooting a gun with a choke tube, that's because I can't do any better. That's the only way that gun came.
Yeah.
Right? I got some Beretta automatics.
What's the size of the chokes?
Full choke?
Yeah, full.
Full choke is the only way to fly.
Okay.
Leo Harrison used to say, "I'll shoot any choke you got as long as it's full."
As long as it's full.
and that's I subscribe to the same philosophy.
Okay.
They range from I got Perazzi MX TMXs. That's probably one single barrel gun I've had some of my most success with. I won the Dixie Grand Championship in October with that. I broke a 98 in the handicap with that gun. Again, it's got a fixed choke at about 35 thousandths or something like that, 34, 35 thousandths. I've got some stock guns, standard guns. They may be 45,000 stock barrels where nobody opened them up. I've got a silver sights. I got 2 barrels for it. And how I ended up with 2 barrels, I thought one of the barrels was 34-inch, right? I wasn't doing that consistent with it. So I said, maybe I need a 35-inch barrel. So I get this 35-inch barrel, both of them fixed full. And then I shot them for about a year, switching off. And then I said, one day, these barrels look about the same length. Let me measure them. Both of them are 35-inch barrels. I thought one was 34. So I should have measured it before I went and spent the money on whole nother barrel. But yeah, I've got that barrel's a Cary Alor board imported barrel. Well, I got TM1s. I got all the great trap guns I've owned at one time.
Well, how about your stocks on them?
For my 1100s, I kind of actually like the Jack West synthetic stocks, the plastic stocks. Plastic seems to transmit less vibration, so it seems to have less recoil. It's a different feeling of recoil as opposed to a wood stock. But my Perazzi's all have wood stocks. But I do have soft touches on them.
Okay,
I'm very recoil sensitive. That's why I like the automatics. But my Perazzi TMX, both TMXs have soft touches on them. The one MX8 has a Pro Soft, a Phil Sims Pro Soft stock on it. And my Silver Sights has a soft touch stock.
How about the combs on them?
They're adjustable combs. You don't want a soft comb though. The soft comb will cost you targets because you press your face.
It changes.
Yeah, and it'll change your point of impact. I learned that the hard way several times.
How you doing? Likewise.
But one time I was at the Virginia State shoot. I ran 99. Said, "Let me get this target." And I pressed too far in, lost on the last bird. Second 100, exact same thing happened. I ran 99 straight, got to the last bird. I'm gonna press down, boom, lost on the last bird.
Yeah. So here's a question that you probably can answer. When did, because it seems like this was like, how things trend in and out, right? What was the time period when all of us, because as I collect older guns, right, a lot of the adjustable comb ones have the leather padding on them. When was that popular and why?
Why that's popular is because a lot of those guns would beat people in the face. They would have torn up cheeks and abrasions, skin actually getting peeled off and strawberries. Okay, so what I'll do with a soft comb, if I get a gun with a soft comb, I'll send it to somebody, gunsmith, like some good gunsmiths around here that I know do good woodwork, and have them keep the soft comb, of course, but make it as firm a padding under there as that they have, or rubber, right? So I don't get the actual vibration of the recoil into my face. It's a very firm, or almost, let's say, a hard soft comb. And that way I don't have press it down on it. But one too soft you don't want. I sold one friend of mine a TMX, and this comb was too soft for him, and what he just had another wood comb placed on it. So you don't want to get too soft. It happened because people's faces got sensitive, right? Yeah. And if your face gets sensitive in a tournament, you might lift your head, and that's a lost bird, and that's not good.
Sure.
Because a lot of these tournaments are one bird.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially at the Grand, it's one. Every event is one target. You miss one target, you're not shooting for the championship.
Sure. Like you said, you go to some of these larger events, and the score, like say you're shooting in your high 90s or whatever. A smaller tournament or whatever, you could be sitting well.
Right
there. It's kind of like, I think I missed that. Well, I know I'm out of the running, so I just better just shoot for my best score. Right. That's all you can do, and hope you can hit the Lewis, or hope you in your category or something like that. Sure.
But like I was just out at Tucson for the last Autumn Grand, and I know there were two 200s because Zach Nannini and another gentleman shot off for that score.
Right.
But there were maybe 4 200s. In the doubles, there were 3 100s. Okay, so if you go into these major big time shoots, it's enough people there that somebody's going to run a perfect score.
Sure.
Handicap, you might be allowed to miss 2 targets.
Sure.
98 took it there. 98 took it when I shot at the Dixie Grand. But at the Grand American, you're going to have 60 to 65 200s. You're going to have 10 or so 100 straights and doubles. Sure. And handicap, you may have 1 or 2 100 straights, or the most is going to drop down there is 98.
Sure.
Probably for you to win the handicap championship. But usually it's a 99 now that's winning it.
Wow. Yeah.
Or 100.
Sure. Here's a not a deep controversial, but it's a controversial subject. All right, maintenance on our shotguns. What are your thoughts on how often they should be cleaned? And how often should they be serviced? This is taking out of the equation that you had a malfunction.
Okay. Right? With my automatics, I like to clean them at least every 500 to 1,000 rounds with my Remington 1100s. A clean gun seems to shoot a little smoother and have little less recoil. Barrel. If you have choke tubes, you definitely want them after every 100. Make sure your choke tube at least is clean.
Sure.
Okay. Break open guns though, my Perazis or the sights, you don't. They don't need much cleaning. If you got some good Q-tips, clean them out with that, a good rag, wipe it out. The most important thing though, I would say, is the barrel. Keep your barrel clean. Now, some people don't like to clean it. Some people believe it kind of like has to be broken in, or what's the word you want to use, like recured or something. They
right,
not
right.
Times, right.
Like it's rosin on a violin.
Sure. Some of those guns, some people don't. It all depends on your philosophy. Now, I believe though a clean barrel, if you get used to shooting your barrel when it's clean, I think that's the optimum thing to do. Other than let the crud build up for 5 or 10 years. Some guys almost never clean their shotguns, and they get used to shooting them the way they shoot dirty.
Sure.
I think your equipment works better, especially your barrels, when they're clean.
Sure. Okay. Coming down the pike to the fine line, to me, the most important part are the important questions. All right. These are the mental game. All right. So, if someone had posed a question to me about this, it says, what do you think is more important in tournament shooting? Understanding the fundamentals, the mechanics, or having the right equipment and loads?
Well, it all works together.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it.
You don't need a real expensive gun, but you need something that's pretty reliable with a consistent trigger pull. I got a little story to tell you, but maybe I'll do that a little later about, a girlfriend of mine, we bought her a Remington 1100, right? And another friend of mine, young lady, shoots a Kragoff. Well, she once shot my girlfriend's Remington 1100. She took one shot with it and told my friend, and she said, if you're going to get serious about this game, you're going to need a better gun. And it hurt Patty's feelings. Now, Patty has a good job. She can afford any gun on the planet. But she liked the Remington because it was a young lady, her first strap gun. But it hurt her feelings. And I told her, I said, that's absolute BS. And to prove a point, with the next shoot we had, major shoot, was the Empire Grand that year. And I said, just to prove a point, I'm going to take my 1100s, right? I took a stock 1100. With only modification is an adjustable cone. No barrel work, no custom trigger, no Timney trigger, nothing. Stock a gun.
Sure.
Well, I ran the 200 out of 200 in the Clay Target Championship. Ran up against a guy shooting a Perazzi High Tech, which is like a $22,000.
Oh yeah, sure.
Good. Okay. Well, I won shooting a stock 1100 just to prove a point. And the next day, I took one of my custom 1100s that has about a 3/4 inch or a half inch, 3/4 inch Simmons rib on it, and I broke the 100 straight in the doubles.
Sure.
The next day. So it was just to prove a point that you don't need an expensive gun in this game.
right.
And the only difference from my expensive guns to the other ones is probably about 2% difference,
Sure.
right? So, and I did it. I didn't use premium shells either. I used the Top Gun for the singles championship out of that one 1100, and I used Aguila shells for the doubles. So,
Okay.
now that was one part of your question, and I actually didn't want to tell that story till later. I wanted to finish answering your question. What was your question again? What were the other parts?
Well, it was more a question of, you know, what was more important, the equipment, or I guess it would really, a better way of saying it would be having the proper understanding of the fundamentals.
Well,
of
you
how to
got
shoot.
you got to know your fundamentals.
Yeah.
A video that I watched when I was starting was called D. Lee Braun and the Remington Pros. It came with a book. A book. I actually have the books up here on my bookshelf. And let's see here. All right. This was the book that I bought in like 1986 or so.
Wow.
Okay, and there's a video that comes with it, and where they put a camera on the gun, you can see what your leads.
Right. I've seen clips from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of my
Right.
former students put it on YouTube. You can go to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
shooting.
that's where I saw it. Yeah.
You can find them for sale on trapshooters.com or something like
Yeah.
this. But this book is gold. It's got some great stories in it.
Wow.
But another good technical book are the James Russell books. One's called Trap Shooting Secrets, as well as Precision Shooting. Okay. And then Dayro Handy has a good book. He's a great trap shooter out on the Pacific coast there. He used to live in Oregon. I think he may have moved to Idaho now. I'm not sure. But Dayro was one of my trap shooting heroes. He shot custom 1100s too. Dayro has right now. I don't know if anybody will ever break his record. He broke 505 straight from 27-yard line with a Remington 1100. Custom 1100s, all that.
Wow.
Okay.
Sure.
So he has a book called Professional Championship Trap Shooting. Dayro's book is good. But you got to know your fundamentals. You got to know your whole points. And you see, trap shooting is a thinking man's game. I'm constantly analyzing my breaks. I'm analyzing the wind. If the wind's blowing from left to right, you got to know if the target goes to the left, it's going to make it rise. If it goes to the right, it may not come up to your gun, so you might have to lower your hold point.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And, okay, so you got to be aware of what's happening. Sometimes the cloud cover will come in and make the field darker.
Yes.
Right? And so
this past weekend for me.
yeah. And once in a while, I've waited until the cloud cleared so I can see the target better.
Sure.
Learn how your eye works. Study how your eye works. Most people would do better with clearer glasses than dark glasses, right? Because your eye works better when your pupil is smaller as opposed to being
dilated. Yeah,
dilated,
sure.
right? So that's important. You got to know where sometimes your different guns respond. Like a gun is like a tennis racket or a golf club, right? You have to hold your hand on the forend to figure out how you're breaking the hardest targets with the majority of the hardest targets. Is my hand out on the forend or is my hand up close? Hand somewhere in the middle, and I'll take a Sharpie and mark my guns as to where my thumb needs to be.
You don't know the pain of me figuring that out this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I changed my foregrip position. I could hit anything in pose 2 to pose 4, pose 1 and pose 5. I couldn't get to them fast enough, because it was a slower, swing.
Well, if you move your hand back a couple inches, you can probably swing to the bird.
Oh no! If I would have brought my hand back, I would have smashed them all.
Right.
Because this was me trying something different, right? And it was like
another thing to your point. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Sure.
I'm constantly experimenting and constantly putting spacers in and out of my gun, trying to get the optimum point of impact for what I'm doing. Take a little Sharpie and mark 2 places or so where one place your hand might have to be for singles, another place you might, an inch or 2 back, you might want to put it for a handicap.
Oh yeah, no, these like you said, these were misses on targets that 2 days ago I was hitting all of them.
Right.
And it was the same shooting conditions. It wasn't like the conditions changed. Same conditions. But like you said, I'm learning. I'm
you're learning,
learning.
but also
The
you're
significance of that. Yeah,
You're
sure.
different from one day to the next. Your gun and your ammunition might be the same, but you're changing.
Sure.
You may eat
Sure.
something that affects your vision.
Oh, please tell me about it. Tell me about
And so
it.
you
No,
don't
I
see
know
the
that.
target
Yeah,
as well one day, or even your reflexes.
sure.
If you eat a lot, you're going to be sluggish.
You're going to be sluggish.
I remember one time, and this is how I ended up buying my first Ludic. Right, my buddies and I, we got out the hotel. We went to this restaurant and had a big, huge breakfast. Right, pancakes and the whole bit.
Oh.
Okay, well, we went to the gun club, and I think out of the first 10 shots, I think I missed like 3. And because I had all this sugar and
Sure.
everything.
Oh, yeah.
And after I missed like that, I said, I really don't feel like being here today. I just feel like going someplace, going to sleep or something.
That's
So
right.
I tell him I can't. So I said, well, I can't win. So let me go down here. And there was a vendor there named Joel Etch, and I went out there and bought a Ludic from Joel. And so because I was in a slump, right? After
Right.
so that's how I ended up with that. Yeah. So.
All right, you was 200% right. 200%
Yeah,
right.
so watch
on
your
that.
food. Don't eat too much in the tournament. The main thing is you don't have to be fast, but you got to be smooth.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
Your fundamentals. Pay attention to where your feet are. Do you always want to unwind on posts like 1 and 5? You want to be so you can get to the angle
Sure,
targets
you can
easy.
get to it. Sure.
Right, you don't want to stand. Watch where your feet are, and get on the post, and they show you all that stuff here in this book, where your feet should be to allow you the optimum gun movement, right?
Sure.
So you can unwind into the shot. So your fundamentals are very important too.
Okay. Here, I think this will be the last question.
Okay.
How do you handle, and this is a mental question. How do you handle that immense pressure that we all experience when you're at that critical moment? And I think it could be a big shoot or a small shoot.
You're just trying to run 100 straight.
Yeah, you're at 95, right? You're at that last post. What do you do to keep your head together?
Here's what you do. You have to understand that most targets are missed before you ever call for them, because people do something wrong in their setup. So since you know that, the most important thing is your setup. You want to take a couple deep breaths, because your eyesight sharpens when you get more oxygen to your brain. So I'll take 2 deep breaths before my shot. And you do that, and you want to make sure you're looking through the center of your glasses. So you're concentrating on your pre-shot setup. It doesn't take long, 5 seconds or so, 3 seconds. But that's what you want to do. Concentrate on your pre-shot setup. You got to make sure one thing is that the gun is in the proper place in your shoulder. Because if it's not in the proper place in your shoulder, chances are you're going to miss. So don't be so nervous you're not paying attention to these things. This is what's important. They're almost more important than the shot. Sure. Because you're not going to execute the shot if everything isn't where you know it needs to be. And if it's not, put the gun down, start the mental process over again. Okay?
Yeah.
But then the next thing you got to...
No, say that again, because that is so important. Because most people will try to just push through it, no.
Your setup is the most important thing you can do in the shot.
Yeah.
Okay? Because most targets, like I said, most targets are missed before you ever call for them, because something in your setup is not right.
Yes.
Okay? So that's the most important thing. That's what I concentrate on, is my setup. I don't worry about breaking the target, because the target's going to break if I've got the gun in the proper place, if I've got my vision correct, I'm looking for my eyes are in the right place, looking out in the field or close, however I might be doing it that day or for whatever event, looking through the gun. All of those are important for whatever shot I'm trying to execute. But everybody gets nervous. The best shots in the world get nervous. Sure. You got to have the proper setup to break the target. But then also, you got some people who go the other way, and they'll go all to pieces if they miss targets or whatever. But you have to understand. I pull some of them aside and I say, look, do you have enough gas in your car to get home? Yeah, you got money in your pocket to buy gas. Is your car note paid up, or is your car note paid up? Your electric bill, gas bill, your house note paid, right? You got food in your refrigerator. Then what are you worried going to pieces about a clay target for? You got the main problems in life taken care of, right? This is supposed to be something fun. Don't stress out over a clay target. There'll be another tournament next week or tomorrow.
Sure.
Oh, and don't get too flustered over a bad day, because I've often had my worst days followed up, and my worst days in trap shooting have often been followed up by some of my best days.
Okay, sure.
Okay, just more recently at the Dixie Grand I was telling you about. The day before, I tried like a 3-dram shell shooting that in my TMX out at 16-yard lines. Didn't work out. I broke a terrible score, and then it was a shell I'm not used to shooting.
Sure.
So, but I was so confident in that gun, I figured I could shoot any shell in it. And that's not true. It likes certain ammunition. So my point is, you gotta. I broke a terrible 16-yard score, one of the worst I ever shot in my life. Followed up the next day by one of the best handicap scores I ever shot in my life. Okay. So don't let one day defeat you.
Right.
There's a different winner in this game every day.
Every day.
It's a different winner every day.
Well, Jon, thank you so much for your time.
I enjoyed it.
And your insight and your advice. I think our viewers are going to really appreciate this.
All right. Thank you.
We definitely got to do this again.
You got my number. I'm always available to you anytime.
All righty.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'd like to take the time to thank our sponsor, Brittany Shoots Everything Photography. Portraits, weddings, fashion, headshots, events, sports, and everything else. And don't forget, she's a great clay shooter. This has been Breaking 100 Clays, hosted by Doc Marshall, with this week's special guest, Professor Jon Kirksic, Mid-Atlantic Region's trap shooting phenomenon. Breaking 100 Clays, our mission is to help you break 100 straight, regardless of your clay shooting discipline. If you enjoyed this episode of Breaking 100 Clays, remember to hit the like button and consider subscribing to this channel.